prices hold? Will demand rise or decline? And who's training the youth of coders? And what will the OEMs even want? Will everyone still be standing at the end of this year? Welcome to Deliver More and our newest episode, which is all about looking into the future and offering some predictions for what will happen in 2025 when it comes to Teflon coatings. And luckily, we have two amazing minded men with me here on this episode. They are the most in touch, the most seasoned, the most likable veterans of the Teflon coatings. And they have the insight on what they think the new year holds for manufacturers, for coders, and for more. And we've got 4 predictions for you. And you're going to want to stick around because the 4th one is a doozy. But no more wasting time. Let's get going because the future is already here. Welcome back, Mike Patterson and Wolfy, to Deliver More.
Hello.
How are you guys doing?
Doing good. Thanks for the big introduction. Wow, I'm feeling flattered.
Good. That's a great place to have you be when you are telling us what the future holds. I like.
Well, hey, Chris, I predict that with that kind of introduction, Francesca's trying to be around for this year hosting the show.
There you go. Yeah, she retained her spot. There you go. Adequate replacement for Nick.
I see a bright future ahead.
For sure.
But what I don't see is any tarot cards. You guys don't have any crystal balls in view here.
Nope.
So I'm wondering now, you're just going to be drawing on your expertise to share what the future holds for our audience. But here's another question is, do you guys consider yourselves betting men?
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
We were just in Vegas last week for a show. So yeah.
Okay. All right, great. Because as you predict these futures, I might be asking you to place some bets and tell us the odds and see if you double down on some of them, because, you know, we're all just trying to figure it out together here. So,
okay.
Sound good?
That works.
Okay. Wolfie, let's throw it to you first. What is the first prediction you have for 2025 in the Teflon coatings world?
All right. I don't wish this on anybody, but I'll say that at least 3 of our main coders or LIAs either goes out of business or sells to maybe an OEM or something like that. So why do I say that? I mean, it has happened, in the recent past. But with the age of regulation and things like that, and, we talk about this all the time. One of the best things that happened with us coming over here was the addition of Miguel Cardona, who handles a lot of our regulatory questions. And because we were like, wow, if we were still in tech, we would have to hire that person because it was just becoming such a daunting task to respond to those inquiries, because there's a lot. I used Patrick's favorite word, daunting. There we go.
Shout out.
But you can't just dabble in Teflon. I mean, you got to be in it to win it. You have to, constantly be up on things and adapting to the changes in the environment. And there's a lot of changes going on right now. And we do see that some folks are struggling with it, or, maybe they're already in a position where they're looking to kind of get out. And maybe they have a nice, juicy contract or a job with somebody that maybe that person's interested in just acquiring the process versus trying to build it, because we know how hard it is to build it, from the ground up. It's pretty difficult, but I think that's definitely going to happen. And it's going to
3 are going bye-bye. Is that an over or under for you, Mike?
That's a good number. I think I want to fade that though. I think I'm going to go under.
Ooh. But you might say push.
Okay. And I mean, what would it even mean for the rest of the business, for the rest of the coders, that to have 2 to 3, 1 to 3 major players kind of drift off into, wherever they go next?
Well, I mean, one thing it creates is definitely more opportunity for other coders, because, and a lot of times when those acquisitions happen, those jobs that, were formerly in that shop, whether, usually they're not retained, or they're going to go somewhere, and it's going to create more opportunity for others, either locally or, what have you, to take those jobs over. And and I think it's also kind of an alarm to coders out there too, is, have I made the adjustment? Am I doing what's appropriate to stay in this business? And am I taking all the measures necessary to be on top of this, ever changing regulatory world that we find ourselves in? Or so if you're not doing that, or you're slacking in those areas, you might want to take a kind of long look in the mirror, make sure that you have everything, buttoned up the way you
Yeah,
should.
I agree with you, Chris, on that regard. And I think, Francesca, when I think about your question, it's a good one. And I think it, if 1 to 3, this year happens, I don't think it changes that much, right? But when that happens over a course of time, 1 to 3 a year over 5 years, then it
Mm,
starts having an impact. And so I think it actually, like Chris said, if you're one of the ones that's still remaining, like it does force everyone to kind of up their game and their skill sets and their offerings in these different areas. And for those that are really nimble and aggressive, and I think it creates opportunity,
Yeah.
sure.
opportunity to have the best, customer facing support and best website and best responsiveness. And because that's ultimately where the cream will rise. Like you have to do a good job, but when a lot of people have similar skill sets and equipment and capabilities and they can all do the job, then who wins? Those that are consistent, reliable, and have great customer support. So
Yeah.
I see that as like a huge differentiator down the road in this world.
I think another thing too, Mike, you look at, like, do I have great diversification in the jobs that I handle? Or am I
Right.
really one-sided in an industry that maybe could be at some risk? Or, my customers are
Yep.
starting to talk to me about, like, what options do I have? With Teflon or other coatings, and things of that nature. So, I mean, if you're just really dabbling, and it's, laser focused on one market, it may not put you in the best light for
Long
the
term.
future.
Yep. Yeah.
Sure. And so basically, coders can do now is basically strengthen up where they might have some gaps and weaknesses, and also be able to be outward facing and easily findable, reputable,
Sure.
and exceptional in some
Hmm.
way that's going to become valuable when that business eventually is lost through acquisition, retirement, selling, yada, yada,
Yeah. And
right?
none of those things happen overnight. So it's a
Right.
matter of starting to put those things in place and being consistent with it over time. And then if you look back, 5 years from now and you go, wow, we've come a long way.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Well, Mike, your middle name is Nostradamus Patterson. So Wolfie thinks three are closing. What do you see coming down the pike for 2025?
So this isn't one that I really want to see happen either because it creates a lot of work for us.
Oh,
But I do see a 4 to 6% price increase on the general products coming down the line, not counting acid primers because they just went up recently. So the general Teflon industrial coatings, 4 to 6 increase. There's a couple things behind that. Typically, we always, I mean, those listeners know this. We used to always have a price increase about
Yeah.
every April, and it was just an annual thing. Then like Chris was saying a couple minutes ago, I forgot about those times when we were, during COVID and all that, when we were doing 2 and 3 a year, and it was
Mm.
just craziness. But we really haven't had one. Shockingly, I had to look it up. The last one we had was September of 2022. And so it's been quite a while, but for good reason, because it wasn't long after that. It was in April of 23 that Intech was acquired. It was in June of 23 that it was announced that industrial liquids would be shifting from New Jersey to Europe for manufacturing. So there was a lot of just new things happening in the Teflon coatings world. So I think
Right.
the decision, or I'm guessing the decision at Chemours was to just let everybody get used to the kind of the new things happening and not rock the boat and that sort of thing. So in my opinion, I think that was what was happening. And so it's been a while. I think things have leveled off. I think Chemours probably has a very good view of the new cost structure of bringing products over from Europe in terms of transportation. There was new packaging, there was new containers. So there's been a bunch of
Mhm.
new upgraded things that are all better for us and are moving in a great direction. So I think it's probably something that we're going to see on the horizon. And just a little inside tip for the customer base. In all honesty, your cost has gone down recently because we got rid of the fuel surcharge last year. And if you would have had this question to me a year ago, I would have been a betting man and said, we're going to get rid of the fuel surcharge of 5% and replace that with an 8% price increase.
Right,
So
right.
that's why I would have been betting on that one. And that didn't happen. So we actually, the costs have gone down 5% for a little bit. So, we're not in a bad spot. I think the market can have, a small price increase is something that most people can handle. So I think that's where I am.
Excellent. Okay, so a 4 to 6% price increase sometime in 2025, because historically it seems like that was business as usual, and obviously for the number of reasons that you said, it's
I'll
been a
go second
while.
quarter too. I'll go second quarter.
Okay, second quarter, 4 to 6%.
Yeah.
Woo, we're getting specific.
All
Wolfie,
right. You want my
would you
feedback on
take
that?
that bet?
I'm going over.
Okay.
I think once Chemours looks at, and now they have some things to fix. So we were kind of like, if they did something now, we know what the common complaints are. The packaging is not where it should be or where it used to be. And, we get a lot of, damage complaints and things like that. And they are in the process of fixing some of these, problems to transition. But I think once they look at it and they start looking at, the shipping of materials over from Europe or the shipping of materials coming over from Asia, that sticker for all those changes was maybe a little higher than they had anticipated, and they're going to go for a higher price increase.
Excellent.
What do you think?
Okay.
You just said
But I
over.
think you
That's
got to
fair.
fix
That's fair.
first. I think you got to fix first. I mean,
Yeah.
I think if we didn't have any of those things in place and we were just operating business as usual, and we're like, we're going to hit you with an 8%, I don't think that was so well.
So, in terms of how people can best manage having this price increase, is that they can anticipate it, certainly take inventory, look at what their jobs are, forecast their business for themselves. Is there something to be said too for planning on communicating that price increase and passing it down to their customers?
That's typically what I believe is done, is to pass that through, because otherwise you just have margin erosion on your end. So
Yep.
we understand there's sensitive jobs and sometimes the price increases cannot be passed along, and in those situations we try to work with people as best we can. We meet with their customers to explain things, whatever it takes to help get these things moved along. So I think it's one of those situations where it's not ideal. It's a lot of work for us. It's a lot of work for our customers. It puts business at risk, frankly, for us. So I don't want to see one. I would love to keep rolling with where
Yeah.
we
It's
are.
been nice.
But it's just, I think it's being prepared and knowing where there's sensitivities in your customer base for price is probably the best thing people can do to prepare for something like that when it happens. Because it's not an if, it's a when.
Yeah.
And
I think it's
second
for sure
second quarter, 4 to 6%, or Wolfie says over.
over.
All right. So our third prediction, Wolfie, I want you to peer into the void of 2025
Well,
and
he is a
tell
void.
us what do you see in that void?
All right.
The
Well, what I
mirror.
see is I'll say I'll go with a high number. That we book 5 on-site trainings over the next year or this year. Now,
5 on-site
Ooh.
trainings in
He changed his
2025.
number from the pre-show.
yeah. The reason I say that is we did so, we didn't bring I3 over to Fluorogistx when we came over, but we know what value that created with our customers, and it's just a great venue for us to talk to a lot of people and really have a lot of great conversations with folks. And we knew we didn't want training to go away. because we put a lot of time into it. There's a lot of value there, and so we did one in 2023, did another one in 2024, and there has been, I will say, I've tipped my hand a little bit. There's been some mild interest in the beginning of this year to start the year. So I haven't gone completely off the rails by saying five, because that's 5x what we've done in the last 2 years. But there's a void there. I mean, there's not a lot of training options. As we like to say, it's a specialized product. Like, not everybody can do it. We kind of are the holder of that information. We talk to a lot of people, and I think, the industry's kind of older. There's been some retirements and things like that. Or even some of the older guys that have been doing processes the same way forever. And people are starting to really look at the processes they do now, not just feed me all the Teflon information. I want to go over the products, and I want to go, where you guys are selling. That will always be there. The next level has been us being on the shop floor working with guys and going over processes to make sure that they're handling things appropriately. And not a lot of things have changed, but what we can see is that there are some practices that folks have adopted over time to maybe fix a problem they were having, that they're still doing, and some of the management people are like starting to question it, but they haven't had a lot of success at getting change adopted. So they're bringing in, the manufacturer's rep and being like, "Hey, Stan, I paid for guys to come here, be with you, to work with you, ask all the questions you want, but also, receive the information that they're giving you." And Mike can vouch for me. I think it has a tremendous impact on them, but I think also on us. I mean, it helps us. 'Cause we're not, I'm sitting in my office. I don't sit here. I don't have a spray gun sitting next to me and an oven and all that stuff. I'm not doing that on a daily basis. So it definitely helps us too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it allows us to put what Comores preaches into practice, but also some of the little nuances that people have found to, to work pieces, and that may be outside of, what Comores has done. So, and share some of that information with people. It's a really valuable service for sure.
Mike, can you see yourself booking 5 of those this year?
Yeah, five, like I said earlier, I mean, he bumped his number up. I thought his first number was low. Five, I can see us doing five. I really can, because yeah. Do you think we'll do one overseas, Chris?
I don't know. We
We
got to check. We got to check YouTube. Did that guy respond?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why. Hey, thank you to our viewer in Australia.
Yeah.
Thanks for your
seriously,
support and kind words, and we're happy to come down there. It's just our fee is a little higher due to the transportation costs.
but it will
But
be well worth it. We can
yeah,
guarantee that.
And
Yeah,
people are jumping at it
it's
in here.
it's true. All right. So whether we stay where we are or we go to the down under, we are going to be probably hitting on at least 5 education sessions. Since you guys agree, I'm going to go with the over. I'm going
yeah, I
to
think
say there's going to be a higher demand than that, even. And it'll be us deciding, do we want to travel? Can we fit it in the schedule? And
Yeah, that's
is
the hard
this
part.
the best time and
yeah, I
way
would
to do
say I'm
this?
glad you said that, Francesca, because it is something I think, for those that may be interested, start talking and thinking about it now. And even if it's something you don't want to do till the fall, we would love to know that now and book it and lock you in, because we obviously can't do these full time. So, it is limited engagement. So if it's something you're interested in, let's, just let Chris or I know, and we can talk to you about it specifically for what would be good for you, and find a date that would work for everyone and get it on the books.
Well, you think about I3 was, 2 to 3 days, and we'd see 10 companies,
Mm-hmm,
but that was just one little date on the calendar. This
mm-hmm.
is different because these are individual.
Yeah,
It's
These
a
are
lot
better though.
harder to get on the
Yeah,
schedule.
these are better though.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, we've gone 1 through 3. So now we are at the
All right.
final prediction for 2025. The one that we have been teasing and saying is the big one, the one you can't even imagine is going to happen. But there's just this feeling in the air. And Mike, lay it on us, listeners, viewers. We've been waiting for it. What is 2025 going to reveal to us?
All right. So I think that in 2025, one of the big five global fluoropolymer coatings manufacturers is going to either go out of business or be sold to another company.
I'm going to make some space for those words. I'm going to hold that space. Wow. One of the big five gone, just gone. That kind of puts
It
our
might still be around, but it's going to be, it could be sold.
not under its original or existing
Right.
form.
Yeah.
What makes you say that? Do you have some insider information?
I do not. I just have 30 years of reading tea leaves in this industry. So I see a couple things on the wall for this one company. y- I think fluoropolymer coatings is a mature market. It's been around for 80 plus years. So I
Mm.
think, although we love it because there's always something new, new applications, new end uses, et cetera, for a company that's trying to aggressively grow this sort of business, it's very tough, and it might not look good on a stockholder report if it's a big company. Number one. Number two, the PFAS and regulatory environment is tough and expensive and require, if you're not supporting it or not staying in the loop on what's happening and how to support your product and your customers, you're falling behind quickly. So that's a big investment. So you have, increasing costs in a relatively mature market. And then you also have, I think this company's not really a good fit for their parent company in terms of just different directions and business philosophies. So I'm looking at this particular company, and just to me, it's almost like a mismatch of fit, form, and function as far as what they're doing versus what their parent company does. And I think they're going to get either shuttered or sold in the next 12 months.
It's kind of similar, Mike, to what 3M did, so to speak. That fluoropolymer piece of their business is really small, and it created a lot of, like, they had a lot of litigation, a lot of regulatory around it, and they just
Black
offed it.
eyes.
Yeah, they just offed it
Yep.
because it only was like 4 to 5% of their business, and it was like,
Hmm.
I'd just rather not deal with it.
Yep.
So,
Do you think that's going to create a lot of disruption in the market, or do you see this as being fairly, by the time it happens, predictable, foreseeable, and the fallout will already kind of be almost done before it begins?
That's a good question, because I think
mm,
whenever there's something like a major supplier that change is even a change, or let alone if they
yeah,
go away altogether, it creates disruption. But I think in this situation, it's a short-term disruption, because for most of the products that are out in the fluoropolymer world, there's other products that are damn near
yeah,
very similar to it. It might be a different color, it might be somewhat different composition, but there's stuff that can typically be used from other manufacturers if push comes to shove. If it's specification, maybe it needs to get revisited and new things tested and approved, but that doesn't always take forever either, especially when things are of critical need. But
sure,
I don't think this would happen overnight. This isn't like the Baltimore Colts leaving in the middle of the night and heading to Indianapolis. If this happens, it's going to be, it'll take a while. I think it will get announced this year. I don't think it will actually come to fruition this year.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
So basically, for coders, the thing to be aware of is that getting fixated, married to, exclusive with maybe a specialty coating, or even just one kind of coating or whatever, is going to be creating potential risk for them. And that the best thing they can do is learn what is, replaceable with what.
Yep. I mean, you nailed it.
Yeah.
Anytime you're using, if you're the only purchaser of a certain product from any manufacturer, that's never a great place to be in, because they could come to you tomorrow and tell you that, oh, we can't get a raw material,
So,
or your MOQ is now 10x what it used to be, or the price is now 5x what it used to be. So that's never a great place to be. So if you have a situation like that, it would behoove you to start looking for alternatives today.
sure.
Excellent. All right. Well, that is it. That is the 4 predictions for 2025 from the guys at Fluorogistx, who know and share it all with you here while we deliver more than just coatings. But I feel like 4 is a weird number to go with our year of 2025. It's not satisfying. It doesn't roll off the tongue. So we don't have to make this about coatings. We can make this one just a prediction. What is a 5th prediction about 2025? Anything. Wolfy, can you think of something
Yeah, I can for sure.
Ooh, let's
And
hear it.
actually, it's not, let's just go World Series. So it's not, it's so easy to say, like, oh, the Dodgers are going to win because they're buying everybody and they got this like all-star team they roll out there every day. But I'm going to go on the other side since, I'm a Philly fan and we hate the Mets, is that the Mets will not win the World Series and they won't make the playoff.
The
$50
Mets.
million on Juan Soto.
Wow. Okay, can you repeat that last part for me, please? Because I think it
He
got cut off.
froze. I thought it was emphasis, but it was a freeze.
I know it was a big dramatic pause, but
The
let's
m-
hear it. Let's hear
The
it
New
again.
York Mets will not win the World Series and not make the playoffs next year. After buying Juan Soto, one man does not make a team.
Mike, your bets on that?
I mean, that's a pretty bold one. I'd go with that. I'd put money on that. Well, I got your back on that.
There you go.
Interesting. Okay. I don't know anything about baseball, so sure. I'm with
go
the
with it.
team. Okay. Well, that is all the time that we have for today. And we thank you so much for being with us. 5 things from 2 guys that can look into the future and tell us everything we need to know. But, the real thing is that we can't predict this, but we always want to try to prepare for what is maybe somewhat foreseeable, reasonably predictable when we read the context clues and make smart inferences. Ultimately, a failure to plan is failure to plan is
Planning to fail.
thank you. Should have planned to say that better.
There you go.
All right. Well, one last fun question that is just for future oriented. But let's say we're 10, 15, 20 years into the future and it is time to do your biopic. We got to tell the story of these amazing Teflon guys. Mike, who is the actor that would play you in your biopic?
All right. So, I mean, I feel compelled to use somebody that's bald.
As do I.
So if I'm thinking about somebody around my age that's bald that I think is like kind of good looking guy type thing, I would probably go Vin Diesel.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you're not going on
Okay.
acting chops then, just on appearance only.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, this is an action movie, Wolfie. Teflon is all action.
And yet it's all about family. So that works. That
All right.
works. Chris.
Mine's kind of easy because actually people think that I've had people say I look like him, but he's kind of a simple guy. He's a likable dude. I'm going Woody Harrelson.
Oh, I can
All
see
right.
that.
Another bald guy.
That's a good pick.
I am not kidding. So I wrote this down earlier.
You just Woody
And
Harrelson, didn't you?
I have Woody Harrelson on my paper. I also, underneath Woody Harrelson, I have Junior Soprano.
Dominic Keaney.
Uncle June.
Uncle Junior.
Uncle June.
For me, those are your guesses?
Yes.
Oh my God.
I could see Chris spitting out a line like sharp as a cue ball, that one. Some people are so far behind in a race, they think they're ahead. Yeah, I can hear it, see it. That's awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for having fun with us. And we will always be here to deliver more from Delaware. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you.